All right, welcome everybody around the world. Welcome to all my subscribers. This video here will be a short and quicker version of my 1 hour long video that I made earlier today. And I'm also going to make an effort to talk louder in this video. That one came out a little bit quiet for some bizarre reason. So I'm a little bit closer to the camera. I'm going to talk a little bit louder. But this here is a monumental discovery. Okay, and I want this video to be real quick and short. So I'm going to save a lot of yappering. I'm going to save a lot of side waffling. Okay, I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. So I made a monumental discovery last night and today. I was working on it last night and today, and it is absolutely game changing. Okay, I've made a lot of other epic discoveries, but this is like just the capstone that connects everything together, supports everything, triangulates everything. It just proves the whole thing. It is probably one of the biggest, in my opinion, one of the biggest in a certain category biblical discoveries for the last few thousand years. Like, it is absolutely epic. Okay, it pertains to the end of days. Now, on my other channels for like 6 years, I've been talking about how the prophecy of Daniel points to 2023 being the arrival of the end days, the judgment time, and all that. Okay, before I get into that again, what I found last night, we actually see another huge concrete pillar of proof that 2023 will be the end days. It so perfectly fits with what is talked about in the prophecy of Daniel. Like, the prophecy of Daniel is one pillar. First Enoch reveals a second pillar. And these two pillars are they're immovable, absolutely astounding pieces of proof. I was shocked. I never expected to find something like this in First Enoch. I honestly did not. So long story short, in the book of Enoch, in chapter 10, there is a verse 14, which most people have commonly taken it to mean that God is going to shorten the lifespan of the giants to 500 years. Okay? Well, I had an amazing epiphany last night. I was working on another topic altogether. I was looking at the topic of giants when I came across this verse, and I came across that 500-year mention. I thought to myself, well, gee, they only had about 500 years until the flood anyways at that point. So what if God wasn't saying he's going to genetically alter giants so that they can only live to a max of 500 years? Because for some reason, that's what everybody's always thought. What if God is just simply saying, hey, at this point right now in history on the timeline, there are 500 years until the Great Flood? That made a lot more sense. So I broke down all the numbers. Okay. The flood occurs in 2451 BC. So anyways, I had to plot out all the patriarchs when they were born in relation to this. All the numbers are given in Genesis, thankfully. Okay, so I got when Enoch was born, Jared was born, Methuselah was born, Mahalalel was born, etc., etc., etc. When they all died, I mapped it all out, and Noah as well. Okay, Noah was born in 3051 BC, just 600 years before the flood. Okay, so I mapped all these things out. And I thought to myself, well, in the following verse in First Enoch, in verse 15, the very next verse, it's talking about how the giants and the fallen angels will be punished and imprisoned by God for 70 generations within the earth. Okay, on top of the great flood coming and destroying all of them and everything. So a generation, taking it as 70 years, which I think would be commonly accepted, if we were to look at that, it would give us 4,900 years. That's 4,900 years. That's a nice biblical-esque number. You know, a jubilee is 49. So this is like whatever that is, 100 jubilees or something, right? So taking it as that 4,900 years, I thought to myself, okay, well, let's go and try and prove. Let's see if this lines up with the prophecy of Daniel pointing towards 2023. So all you got to do for that is minus 4,900 from 2023. And what I got was 2,877 BC. Okay, but that didn't seem to fit with anything significant. So I spent hours and hours, and my intuition and the Holy Spirit was just leading me to a great discovery that I didn't see coming. So anyways, what I realized was, I almost gave up numerous times. What I realized was that at the start of the chapter, in verse 1, these things are all important. It says, he sent this messenger, I can't pronounce the name, to the son of Lamech. Well, who is the son of Lamech? It's Noah. This prophecy was being delivered to Noah. Noah was born 600 years before the flood. So we know that this prophecy now has an approximate date, or range at least, which is what I mapped out here in my little bracket, right? So we know it's got to be, if it's going to Noah, it didn't go to Noah when Noah was in diapers, and didn't come to Noah before Noah existed. So we had a rough time frame, right? So long story short, here's a simple way to look at it. If we know, I went from what I knew. We know the flood is 2451 BC, right? See my other videos on the timeline and all that. Like I said, I'm saving time waffling and everything, right? Well, the flood was 2451 BC. If what Enoch said was that there's going to be well, not Enoch, but if God said in the book of First Enoch to Noah, there's going to be 500 years until the flood, that gives us a time point. There you go. So you just simply add 500 to 2451, which will give you 2951. Okay, so 2951, I noticed, was 75 years before 2877. Now remember, 2877 BC was 4,900 years prior to 2023. And when I thought about it long enough, because it didn't hit me right away, I realized, wait a second, 75 years. Then I thought about it like this. So we have this chunk of time. It ends in 2023. This is how you look at it mathematically. 2023, and then we have 2951 BC. But it's 75 years too long. Is the extra 75 at the start or at the finish? Long story short, it's at the finish. Considering that, guess what? From 2951 BC, if you add the 70 generations that are in verse 15, which is 4,900 years, you will come to 1948 AD. And 1948 AD is a pivotal time point, not just in history and all that, but in the prophecy of Daniel 2023 prophecy. Okay, is pivotal. That is astonishing. Okay, even if you didn't know about the 2023 side of Daniel's prophecy, the fact that it ends in 1948 is astonishing. That was the end of the Second World War. That was also the rebirth of Israel. That was also when the people got to return to Israel. That's when the Beast Kingdom of Islam had to relinquish its empire over its dominion over Israel and allow the Jews and the Christians back in. So that by itself is monumental. But when you consider that 1948 is a pivotal time in the 2023 prophecy of Daniel, it's just astounding. So what this actually does is it proves my understanding of Daniel, showing that it's 2023 AD. So again, let's just look at it combining First Enoch and Daniel. Very, very quickly, a micro summary. In First Enoch, we're told that 500 years before the flood, which is in 2951 BC, there would be 70 generations that the opponents would be in prison. Okay? Those 70 generations, 4,900 years, ended in 1948 AD. So that's factoid number one. So just remember that. Now, in the book of Daniel, completely different book, written different time. In the book of Daniel, Daniel tells us in chapter 12 that there will be 1,290 years from when what was Babylon took away the continual sacrifice, which occurred in 602 BC. So simple mathematics, 602 BC plus 1,290 years gives you 688 AD. What significant thing happened in that year? Oh yeah, the Dome of the Rock was built by the Beast Kingdom Islam on the Temple Mount. Now, in Daniel's prophecy in chapter 12 and the other chapters, he is told that this final beast kingdom would erect, that there would be 10 kings, and that the 11th king would stand up, and that in either case, that this beast kingdom would be given a period of 1,260 years to rule in. Now, if 688 AD was when the Dome of the Rock was built on the Temple Mount, And if Islam had gained dominion over the land of Israel from that point until 1948, we can see that's exactly 1260 years. And if we look in Daniel chapter 12, Daniel asked the angel, how long till the end of all these wonders that he's been shown, which include the fall of Israel, the conquering of Israel, the desolation of Israel, the abomination on the Temple Mount of Israel, the exile and the scattering of the holy people. The angel says, from the completion of the scattering of the holy people, there are 1260 years essentially, and then finished are all these. So in 688 AD, that would have been the completion of the scattering, because in 640 AD, Islam conquered Israel. People had scattered before then anyways. There was an initial exile started in 70 AD when Rome overthrew. But for those hundreds of years, people still persisted in Israel. But when Islam came and conquered in 640, there was a small anyways, I've got to get going. So